Hello, I'm Joseph Deere, and I am um, presenting my interactive journal for week 2 of EDU 524. And so here we go. Um, so after reading the chapters 3 and 4 and viewing the PowerPoint, I'm describing um, the 3 stages of lesson planning and the 4 steps of problem solving, and explaining why they are important or critical. So the before lesson phase is, the beginning of class when we have a chance to make sure that the students all understand what the lesson is and what the expectations are, um, and try to bring in some personal aspects to help make it personal for the students, uh, and help them reflect on what they already know as a foundation for learning new information. um, and so the during the lesson phase is when we can work in small groups. We can open it up for the students to use the tools and diagrams and models in order to make the lesson happen and an engaging and inspiring way. Um, this is the phase where we make sure that students are actually learning. We are checking their process, asking them what they know, asking them how they can relate it to other aspects in order to think more and think more deeply about what they're learning and different ways to use it. And so the after lesson phase is where we can encourage students um, to elaborate their thinking, to promote the idea of community, um, keep the discussion going um, after about what they have learned, um, help them to continue to challenge each other with logical reasoning, as well as develop a safe environment so that they can all feel safe as a community to take risks with each other and maybe ask more questions than they normally would or give more answers than they normally would as part of this culture that we create after the lesson. So these are essential to successful lessons because they make sure that students are on the same page to begin with, that they're actually showing their learning, as well as developing a culture for successful learning as a community. So now um, we going over to the four steps of the problem solving process. One is understanding the problem, of course, just making it clear, which sometimes is easy to take for granted, but often just reminding students of the most simple, basic aspects of the lesson help them to get grounded in what's happening and be present. Next, devising a plan, thinking about how to solve the problem. So, starting to create the intention, starting to use critical thinking to figure out what needs to happen. And then the third is to carry out the plan, to actually take action. You know, that's important. And then looking back, it says that the step is arguably the most important, as well as most overlooked. So just again, getting recentered in the present, making sure that the answers are making sense, um, checking the strategy, and seeing if there is anything that needs to be redone or done in a new or different way. And so let's see. Now, the video that we watched, Math Detectives, As I understand the question, it says discuss the planning process involved in the video, this first video.
Oh, you're looking at what did?
Um, so as I understand the question, the planning process that is shown through this video is um, is effective. She starts by saying they introduced the lesson several weeks ago, several weeks before. So the class has had a lot of time to process the potential for this work, and looks like they're primed for this lesson with that much introduction. Says she started with the fact that they introduced the topic a few weeks ago. They built up the tension, and so they're ready to be math detectives, and they're already invested. And she uses different techniques um, to help continue to build the tension, and then help them um, take take that action to manifest what they've been planning. Now, the smarter balanced sampler of tasks. The task that I took a closer look at and focused on is the whatever this is, MAT03ER3 Mathematics Sampler Item Claim 3. This is about basically offering rectangles for students to start to process as aspects, as functions of fractions. And so the students were given 4 rectangles and asked to give a fraction represented by the colored boxes. So for this, students will need to know how to construct viable arguments about numbers and operations of fractions. They will construct autonomously chains of reasoning that will justify or refute propositions or conjectures, develop understandings of fractions as numbers, reason with shapes and their attributes. So all of that sounds very complicated, but when it comes down to it, is a very simple problem. Dividing a rectangle into 4 squares, or 4 rectangles, in order to highlight the fact that one of the 4 is colored, therefore making it 1/4. And they do this again also with the second rectangle, where one of the 4 is colored, making it obvious that 1/4 is the fraction to answer. So what do I think about the depth of knowledge level aspect of this? It says depth of knowledge is 3. That's what I believe. And I think that that's great. I think that makes sense, but I also at the same time believe that the depth of knowledge also really overlaps the level 2 in lots of ways. I think level 2 depth of knowledge covers let's see. Sorry, I didn't get that organized. So the depth of knowledge level 2 covers multiple steps in reasoning, learning to problem solve using 2 or more steps. And so for a child, a younger child, or maybe a special ed candidate student, they can answer this, I think, using level 2 as well as level 3. So that's what I have for this. so far. And I hope that it answers all the questions adequately. Um, and so thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to practicing more with this.